Welcome once again to your program. Is Yoruba Referendum Committee Representative Alagbafemi or Dediyin on our usual program with the topic True Federalism, the journey so far in Nigeria. I welcome you to the program wherever you are. Good evening, good morning, and good night for those people that are getting ready to sleep. Obviously, don't sleep yet until after this program. Alagbafemi already, you are welcome on the program.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for another opportunity. Yeah.
Right. We've been looking at different and several subtopics on this program, and we'll continue today zeroing in on the journey to the 2027 elections. We can't really call it, we can't simply say it's presidential elections because of course, we're going to have the governorship, which is the gubernatorial elections. We're going to have the one for the local governments, the councillors, the chairmen, and obviously the representatives at the National Assembly, both at the Senate and the House of Rep. So it's a lead up to the 2027, but we want to actually look at the presidential proposed, let's put it as proposed, because we have very limited numbers of people that have actually come out to say they want to vie for the presidency. Now, for those that have declared, obviously we can talk about Seyi Makinde from Oyo State there. Obviously, Amechi also was talking there about doing one term. Of course, we have Peter Obi right on there. We have Atiku Abubakar. And of course, we also have the president that wants to go for the second term. Now, I know that most of these aspirants, if we can tag them aspirant now, and the reason I said that is that they are yet to be formally presented by their political parties. So that means some of them have not even picked the form to, to show their intention to contest even within their own parties. So we'll just use the word aspirants for them for now. The ones that seems to be like a big contender that most people have been talking about is Peter Obi. I mean, we might say they're talking about when we look at the social media, it might be different on the ground. But obviously, we also have the president that's been on there. The history of opposition in Nigeria, and I think this is where we're going to pick off from. Has there been any time in the history of Nigeria? We know there is always contestation. Obviously, it's a game of numbers, it's a game of strategy, that is politics. But has there been any time in the history of Nigeria where we had only one political party contesting against itself?
No. Even when we had the First Republic, it wasn't a presidential system, it was a parliamentary system. So all the parties contested, and the idea in a parliamentary system is that the party with the majority in parliament will form the government. So there were several contestants because there were several parties. By the time of the Second Republic, we had 5 different contenders. UPN, NPN, GMPP, MPP, PRP. And then the military, like they did after the First Republic, where they tried to create Nigeria in their own image. So when Babangida came now, he now decreed a 2-party system where there will be only 2 parties, which they funded. So that's how we came about SDP and NRC. And
Outsourcing.
and at the same time, because the election didn't go the way they wanted, then they annulled it. That's what gave birth to June 12th. And of course, we know since the military was defeated, as it were, in 1999, we had several parties, AD, PDP, PRP, all of them. And then up till now, we've been having different contestants for power. But my main concern is not on the number one, the Nigerian political leadership or the political elites. I'm sorry to say, they are politically ignorant in the sense that I use the word advisedly, not to insult them, but to describe them. Because the
Correct.
whole concept of a one party system is a political, philosophical system deriving from those countries that call themselves communist or socialist. They will state it that the party is supreme. If you look at China, North Korea, or when the Soviet Union was still in existence, that the party, which is the Marxist Communist Socialist Party, is supreme, and every other party will be subservient to it, even if they exist. So, that's what they call a one-party state. So when these Nigerian politicians now come and start talking about Nigeria is different to one party state and that's why I said it's an exhibition of ignorance on their part. The ignorance may be deliberate or it may not be. So the whole question of one party states does not even arise. And that's what we have been saying at the Yoruba Referendum Committee, that what we are having is a one center state. In other words, every aspirant, every contestant aspires to control the center
Center. Yeah.
regardless. So it is a one center state that we are having, or that is the issue, not a one party state.
A one
Because
party.
the only way you can have a one party state in a multinational society like Nigeria is by brute force. You have to suppress
Yeah.
all the other irritants and impose yourself as the ultimate. That's the only way. But none of them is capable of doing it, or none of them even understands how to go about it. I mean, I'm talking about these politicians. So when
Yes.
they talk about one party state and all that, it's just an expression of their ignorance. That is part A. Part
Yeah.
B is the whole context of contesting for power. And I will use President Tinubu as an example. When he was in the AD, the opposition as it were, AD, CACN, and all the rest, the guy, the man, the president, was focused on what he intends to do if and when he becomes president. We may
Right.
not agree with what he's doing. We may not, we may be disappointed in the way he's doing it, but the man was full. He has an idea of what he intends to do. So that was why when he came to power in 2023, the whole thing, the first thing he did was, because Nigeria was on the brink and borrowing money to pay this and that, have sold all the crude oil they could sell, even without drilling it. They have sold it underground. Then he said, remove the fuel subsidy, and everything started cascading since then. So he was purposed. Now, compare
Mm.
that with all these things. I will spend 4 years. What is the meaning of you
Mhm.
contesting for office to promise anyone that you will spend 4 years when there are actual problems on ground to be resolved? So that if they are serious about their quote unquote opposition, what one will
Yes.
expect them is, okay, look, this is Nigeria's problems. We all know it. We don't need to be running helter skelter. since you have not resolved it, this is our suggestion on how you are going to resolve this thing. And if you don't solve it within the next 4 years, well, that means you have betrayed those who are trusting you, including us. And then let them come up with their own plan. Spending 4 years in office is not a plan. I am a wealth creator. It's not everybody is a wealth creator if given the chance, no matter the level of wealth. So all those things, none of them have been able to say, okay, President Tinubu, the way you are going, the patrons went to him and said, look, this is the way to resolve this problem. And he promised them, okay, let me finish my economic reforms, then I will deal with that. So what these people should have done, if they are serious about anything about Nigeria, is to say, look, Mr. President, you have wasted 3 or 4 years. Oh yeah, this is what we expect from you. Okay, take Governor Seyi Makinde, for example, in Badon. We keep saying that the so-called local government autonomy is anti-federalist. And he was one of the first governors to come out openly to say so also during the time. He was very clear about it that no, this is not acceptable. But now he wants to run for office and he's not even talking about that. So let's even assume he wins. And after promising to spend 1 term, he will now get the local government, they will just do all their arabaraba and then leave office. So that is the B part of it, that the politicians, the so-called opposition politicians, don't know their stuff. They are just flowing along with sentiments that they use all kinds of sentiments, to boost their image. And that is B part. The C part is even the promise itself. Okay, everyone in Nigeria knows about the relationship between the North and the South. That is why even the politicians themselves talk about zoning, whether formally or informally. You spend 8 years, we spend 8 years. You go this, it is our turn, it is my turn, it is your turn. And they know it. Now, you are now coming out from the South, now saying, you are promising the North, okay, look, don't worry, I will spend, just put me in power. Does that make any sense? So I don't know whether that answers your question, but these are the things that are agitating our minds, that the level of political sophistication, political understanding among the so-called opposition politicians is really nothing to write home about.
Right. Thank you. So in essence, you're saying that the opposition figures or leaders or representatives are actually meant to be promoting their own side of what they would do that will be different from what is being done by the current administration, and being able to show that that will bring better results than accusing the government in power of wanting to set up a one-party state and go. In a democracy, and I mean all over the world, we know that people have the right to belong to any political parties that they chose.
Right.
We've seen a sort of a surge in the number of people moving to the APC. Obviously, everyone will want to identify with a winning party. Or are these movements by political players into APC, could we say this is what is given the opposition, if we can call it headache for now? Would that be the reason? And if it is, have we had a sort of a massive move from I mean, what is happening now is that it's not just only in PDP that people are moving into APC. People are moving from Labour, they are moving from other political parties as well into APC. Have we had in the past, in the history of Nigeria politics, a sort of a move
Reverse.
like that from one party to the other?
I think yes, in the sense that okay, even during the First Republic, there were alliances. I
Right.
mean, in a parliamentary system, the alliances will be different because you can't you can't subsume your own party or dissolve it or move into another party, especially if you are strong in your area. You will want to
Right.
win your seats as a means of negotiating whatever it is you want to negotiate. So the tendency to move, or what they call cross, is lower. And then, but you see, progressively, especially after the Second Republic, even there were no movements from cross movements from one party to the other. In fact, the NPP, the NPP, or is it GNPP? The NPP broke up so that GNPP could be formed to win in Borno State and then the NPP in Eastern State. So what you found in the initial stages of the Second Republic, was the detour of those we consider to be progressive. People like Solomon La, people like
Mm.
Anthony Nahuru, who were formerly closely aligned, and then Anthony Nahuru was in the action group. So by the Second Republic, he came into the NPN and became their leader in the NPN. So,
Oh,
but that was not moving from one party to the other. It was just that there was a new system in place and everybody was trying to fix themselves up. So, but it became more pronounced when this republic, this whether third or fourth republic we have now,
mm.
came into being in 1999, especially after in 2003. Because what happened was that instead of the Alliance for Democracy capitalizing on the strength of Yoruba people or the West in terms of their anti-military struggles in June 12 to get the country restructured, they decided to play the game of getting to the center. You remember I said earlier that the problem with Nigeria is a one-center state,
Straight, yes.
not a one-party state. So the Obasanjo regime used all his powers to try to destroy the Alliance for Democracy. And then you find a lot of people that were in the AD 1999 crossing over to the PDP in 2003,
Mm.
like Benga Daniel and all the rest of them. I'm now limiting it to the West too.
Yeah.
So since then, since that 2003, the whole political structure became one of moving from one party to the other. Why? Just to get access to that center. So you find parties, even look at the PDP that boasted that it will rule for 60 years.
Over for 16
Yes,
years.
it became a victim of itself because at that point, the center became too hot for even the PDP itself. So when everybody's hands is going into the one small pot, they will start, throwing their piece at each other and stuff like that. So what is happening now is a reflection of what has been happening since 1999. And that's why I said the opposition politicians have no understanding of their political position. All they are looking at is what can get them into power.
Yeah.
And they think that by promising a section of the country to spend only 1 term, in any case, it's supposed to spend 1 term. So before years. Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
which is what, so you don't even need to promise what is already obvious, unless you have an intention of getting there and then changing the whole calculus again. So it doesn't make any sense for you promising that you are spending 4 years, because you can't spend more than 4 years anyway in the first instance. So these are the kind of things that are reducing the level of political consciousness in Nigeria, which I lay firmly at the feet of these opposition politicians who will complain that the current government is not doing this and that, is hunger all over the place and all that. But will not even come out to say, okay, when I get to power, this is how I'm going to reduce it. I'm going to reduce fuel price. Let's say, for example, campaign, when I get, instead of this, I won't pay subsidy, but the fuel price will not go beyond so amount and stuff like that, and it informs or even on our own understanding, because I remember when they were talking about Dangote refinery and stuff like that, and some people were saying, yeah, no more fuel import, it can't be this, it can't be that. But you keep telling them that global economy will affect even Dangote refinery, and that in fact they will import cheaper fuel despite Dangote refinery in Lagos. But a lot of people couldn't even see it, that it has been happening, that imported fuel, despite the forex exchange and all the rest of it, imported fuel is even cheaper than Dangote fuel. We've experienced
Mhm.
it. So there's more to governance, to economics, to political leadership than just these TikTok campaigns that they are making, sound bites. You spend 4 years,
Yeah.
you are a wealth creator, you are this, you are that, and all that. So this whole thing is a reflection of that one center mechanism that I say.
Right.
And that's why we are saying the only way to resolve it is not by having quote unquote opposition to contest for the presidency, is to restructure the country into a truly federal state, so that we will be able to relate with each other or deal with each other as the case may be. So nobody will come and tell us that the problem is in Abuja, because
Yeah.
we are not going to Abuja. I mean, you are right there sitting beside us, so we will deal with you if you don't go the way you want to go. So it's the lack of understanding, lack of appreciation of the problems at hand that is making them to move from one party. Because when they move into the ruling party, they will have access to the center. Those who are
Yes.
promising to spend one term are looking at access to the center.
Mhm.
So the president that is sitting at the center doesn't want to leave the center, at least for the next 4 years. So everything is on that one center state, which has characterized Nigeria since 1966. And that is why we are saying we should withdraw from it, because it hasn't gotten us anywhere. And then reorganize, at least practice what had worked for us in the First
Yes, in
Republic.
the past.
Yes, and it
Yes.
did work for us.
No. Thank you. But Femi Odedeyi, I will ask that, does the system of government being run, uh, does it have an impact on the way opposition is played in Nigeria politics?
No. The reason why I said no is this. What we call opposition politics is not opposition. Like I said earlier, you are an opposition movement when you have a clear programmatic, philosophic direction that you want to take the country. Not a question of, I can do it better than the incumbent. No. So the opposition itself is not an opposition because it doesn't have a program of opposition. It is
Yeah.
just an irritant political movement, just to irritate or coerce or intimidate those who are in power so that, and then confuse people to say we don't like him, we like you, we like. So even if you look at Europe or America or the rest, you look at the political parties, whether whatever section you want, they are very clear as to their direction they want to take the country. They take Britain, okay, Britain is a parliamentary system. Take America, you have a presidential system, Republicans and Democrats largely. But you know where each one of them stands. So if there's going to be a contest between the presidency, between the Republicans and the Democrats for the presidency, each will campaign on the basis of what its party stands for, not simply on the basis of the characters that are representing them. But you can then identify yourself with big government or small government, more taxes or no more taxes, immigration or no immigration, all kinds of stuff like that. So, but the so-called opposition in Nigeria don't even have that. That's why I used President Tinubu as an example initially, that while they were all running around after 2003, he stuck with the AD. AD transformed into AC. In other words, he stuck with his own political paradigm, ACN, all that and all that. So that is what is missing in what we call opposition politics. So I don't regard them as opposition. I just regard them as irritants. Now, the real opposition is already on the question of restructuring. That is the only opposition that we have. The only problem with that opposition is that it is yet to see itself as an opposition. All the advocates of restructuring, they are saying virtually the same things. This is that, the journalism, parliamentarism, blah, 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 and all that. All virtually the same things. But the problem is none of them agree on how to achieve it. So that is why, because they don't have an idea of the strategy to adopt to achieve it, that's why they couldn't see themselves as the opposition. Because when we talk about restructuring and true federalism, we are talking about the shake-up of the entire system, which is what opposition means. We are not just talking of replacing one president with another president. We are talking of replacing one system with another system. So, but because they don't agree on the strategy, they don't see themselves as an opposition. And that is what they should start thinking about. That although we don't have a political party of our own, but what we represent as advocates of restructuring is a political movement, is a political party. And the more we see ourselves as opposition, the better. Because whether those in power now or those in so-called opposition now, when they start running around and campaigning and stuff, we have our own campaign platform. We are telling them, and we have been telling them, look, all this grammar you are blowing about is not going to solve. This is the way to solve the problem. And that's what we have been advocating. So if we can develop, and the strategy that we have is on this nationality referendum, and I will keep saying it, I'm glad that people like Chief Oleola Nipekun embraced it and is also saying virtually the same things. So if we can use the referendum as our strategy, it becomes a platform that will transform the advocacy for restructuring into a political opposition. Because it's there, and it is applicable to all over the country. So if we can get to that point, then we can say, yes, there is indeed a serious opposition in Nigeria. Without that, they will just be running around as they are doing now.
Right. Thank you very much, Alagwafemi. So we've looked at the opposition, and for you, it's like no opposition at the moment with the way opposition is being played by the gladiators, if we can put them that way. The part of the referendum, the call for nationality-based referendum as a sort of an opposition voice is actually calling on the system or the government to listen to the people and to take on board the mind and the views of the people.
Right.
Democracy is a system that is for the people and by the people. That means the government or whoever that is in charge should listen to the people.
Right.
And it's been shown so far that although the election is conducted every 4 years in Nigeria, and people do win the elections, but we've also seen that they went through many and different strategies, including distributions of foodstuffs and other things. But if we're really going into the real politics that will lead to good governance, the people need to say what they want and how they want to be governed. And this is what you've packaged in the Yoruba referendum bill that is before the 6 Southwest Houses of Assembly and the governors. Some other people have also spoken about it, even if they don't really talk about the bill that is standing before the Southwest Houses of Assembly. You've also mentioned that you've met with representatives of other nationality. I mean, some of them. When we come back next week, we'll go into those ones so that our listeners and those that are watching us will be able to know, have the knowledge of the effort that you have made, either as an organization, Yoruba Referendum Committee, or singularly or in collaboration with others, to be able to push them towards placing such referendum as a template before their own houses of assembly as well. So, Alagbafemi, thank you so much. Our listeners and those that are watching us, remember next week we'll be talking about Yoruba Referendums Committee's effort in interacting and engaging with representatives of other ethnic nationalities in Nigeria towards having a template or taking a similar approach to what has been done by the organization. We'll see you next week by God's grace. So do have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.